Thank you for making Finlandia your choice in a sauna. The following are video instructions that will assist you in setting up your Finlandia sauna. You may need the following tools on hand to assemble your Finlandia Precut sauna: a chop saw, table saw, jigsaw, drywall saw, hammer, nail punch, and tape measure, a level, surform or block plane, and a power screwdriver with a number 2 Phillips bit and a 2-inch extension bit, a 12-inch square, utility knife, glue, hammer tacker or staple gun, pry bar, spade bit, and a 7/16 or small adjustable wrench. If you have them, power air tools make the installation much easier and faster. Use 1 1/2 inch galvanized staples with a 1/4 inch crown. A pin or finish nailer is also useful with 1 1/2 inch nails. As with any installation, proper preparation of the assembly area will make your installation easier. To frame the sauna room, make sure there is an adequate supply of 2x4 or 2x6 studs in the room. Place the studs every 16 inches on center to center, and provide adequate framing in each corner of the room. The sauna floor should be of waterproof material, such as cement, vinyl, or tile. The standard ceiling height should be 7 feet. Stub in the wiring for your sauna heater approximately 4 inches above the floor. Measuring from the floor, a rough-in box for the light should be installed on the wall 78 inches on center. It should extend 3/4 inch out from the surface of the stud wall. Walls and ceiling should be insulated with R13 fiberglass. Although vents are not required for safety, they make the sauna experience more comfortable for every sauna bather. Therefore, it is advisable to install 2 vents in your sauna room. Saunas usually vent directly into the house. Using your framing material, frame in 2 vent boxes with rough openings of 4 inches by 10 inches for your vents. Lower vents should ideally be placed 4 to 6 inches above the floor, somewhere near the sauna heater. Upper vents are usually placed 6 inches below the ceiling on the opposite wall, but may be placed as low as 28 inches from the floor if necessary. If this is not possible, the upper vent may be placed on the same wall as the lower vent, as long as it is not placed directly above the heater. You may vent to the outside of your home if desired, but keep in mind that cooler outdoor air may increase heat-up time. If adequate airspace is available above the ceiling area, you may put the upper vent in the sauna ceiling. Use a drywall saw to cut vent holes in the exterior sheetrock. Find the box that contains the foil vapor barrier. Apply this Type C building foil to the ceiling first. Cut the foil pieces with a utility knife. With the foil side facing into the sauna room, use a hammer tacker to apply the foil in overlapping layers to the ceiling joist. Next, starting at the floor, apply the foil in overlapping layers to the wall studs. Once completed, the entire room should be lined with foil. It is not necessary to tape the seams in the foil. Cut holes in the foil with a utility knife for the vents and electrical. Next, open all the lumber boxes and sort the boards. For your convenience, the boxes have labels indicating the board type. Dots on each end of the board indicate their use. Ceiling boards have 1 dot. The back wall boards have 2 dots. The right wall has 3 dots. The left wall, 4 dots. The front right wall boards are marked with 5 dots. And the left front boards are marked with 6 dots. Boards are all cut to size. Sort the boards according to appearance. Use darker boards, flat grain boards, or boards with minor imperfections for the bottom layers of the sauna room. Ceiling boards do not have to be sorted. Using ceiling boards marked with 1 dot, install the first board on the ceiling joist, with the smooth side facing out and the groove facing the wall. The first ceiling board can be face nailed at the edges, as the 3/4 inch wide ceiling molding will cover these holes. Attach the board using the 5-penny nails provided. Position the nail at a 45-degree angle to where the base of the tongue meets the board. Nail to each ceiling joist. Countersink each nail using a nail punch. Install the second ceiling board by lightly tapping the board into place with a hammer. If the board does not fit tightly, use a small wooden block to make the board fit snugly. There should also be no gaps between the boards. Each board will cover the nail holes from the previous board. Install the remainder of the ceiling boards. The last ceiling board will have to be ripped to fit. Measure the distance between the board and the wall stud at each end of the board. Mark the board, and, setting the saw at a 5-degree angle, use a table saw to rip the last ceiling board to size. Set the board in place and use a block and hammer to make the board lie flat against the joists. Use a pry bar to achieve a tight fit. And, using a hammer or pneumatic tool, face nail at the edges of the board. If you have no solid surface for nailing, pre-mark the ceiling joists so you can face nail to the ceiling joists. The standard Precut package is meant to be installed horizontally. However, if an optional vertical installation was ordered, apply horizontal nailers to the studs at 16-inch spacing or install horizontal blocking in the walls prior to foil installation, so that the boards can be applied vertically. Then, install the foil and start the first vertical board. Start at the back corner of the room. Use a pry bar and block as a lever at the floor to make a tight fit at the ceiling. Nail the board in place. Next, rip off the groove from the next wall board. Apply a bead of glue to the board and nail to the wall. With the standard tongue and groove horizontal installation, wall boards are installed horizontally, layer by layer, around the room. Start by installing the first back wall board marked by 2 dots, tongue side up and smooth side out. Raise the board 3/4 inch off the floor and level it. Once level, you may face nail the first back wall board at the ends, and also nail the first layer of boards at the bottom to the studs. Then nail through the studs. Continue the first board layer by finding and installing the first right wall board, which has 3 dots at the end. Butt the left end of the right wall board to the back wall. Make sure you line up the V-groove. Use a pry bar to tighten. Line up ends and nail the left end of the board in place. Level the board and nail in place. Next, find the first left wall board, which has 4 dots, and place it against the left wall. Butt the right end of the left wall board to the back wall board, line up the boards, and nail the end of the board. Level the board and nail it to the studs. Find the first front right wall board, which has 5 dots, and butt it to the right wall board. Level the board and nail at the corner. Toe-nail the ends, making a tight fit to the wall. Take the first front left wall board, which has 6 dots on the end, and butt it to the left wall board. Line up the boards, nail at the corner, level it, and nail in place. To facilitate where the heater wire enters the room, measure and drill a hole in the second layer board. When you come to a vent hole, mark the back of the board from the inside or outside of the sauna. Cut the board and reinstall. Also for the upper vent hole. Install the boards layer by layer around the room in the order of back wall board, right wall board, left wall board, and front wall boards, making sure the layers line up evenly. You may use a pry bar to butt the side wall boards tightly against the back wall. Cut out around the rough in box for the light. If you ordered an exterior wall control, be sure to drill a hole in one of the upper boards for the thermostat sensor bulb to enter the room. See your heater manual for instructions. The last layer of boards near the ceiling will have to be ripped down to fit. However, before installing, mark the wall studs to facilitate nailing. Measure from the top, not the tongue, at both ends, and use the smallest measurement of your last back wall board to the ceiling. Mark your board. Then, with your saw blade at a 5-degree angle, rip it to the proper size with a table saw. Use a surform or block plane to round off the edge on the back of the board. That will eliminate the sharp edge which could scar your ceiling boards. Place the ripped board on the back wall. You may need to use a block and hammer to set the board in place. Use a pry bar to make the board tight, and face nail near the top of the board to the studs. Repeat the process for the last board on each wall. Next, measure the length and width for the header piece above the doorway. Cut a board to fit and face nail in place. Now the entire room should be paneled. It's time to install the door. When opening the door box, you'll notice the door handle on the back side of the door is attached. The door sill is wrapped in bubble wrap. Take it out and set aside. Remove the other door handle from the shrink wrap and attach to the front of the door with the screws provided. Center the handle on the roller catch and off-center slightly from the door handle on the other side. Insert the 4 wood buttons to the screw holes and tap in place with a hammer. Remove the 2 partially exposed nails on the outside of the door jamb that were used in shipping. Remove the door pins from the hinges and remove the door from the frame. Remove the nails that hold the 1-inch by 2-inch stoppers to the door frame and knock off the 2 scrap boards at the bottom of the door frame. Place the door frame into the door rough opening. The frame will rest directly on the floor. Using shims, partially nail or screw both sides of the jamb to the stud wall where the stop molding will be attached to keep the frame in place. Install the nails or screws in the area where the 1" by 2" stoppers were removed so that the holes will be covered when the stoppers are put back in place. The door jamb should be flush on the interior and exterior. Put the door back on the frame and reinsert the hinge pins. Use wood shims to achieve proper spacing for the door. And be sure to shim at the roller catch so the door will close snugly. Level the door by adjusting the shims. When satisfied, permanently nail the door jamb to the wall. Use a utility knife to score the shims and then break them off. The bubble-wrapped piece that came with the door is the optional door sill. Measure and cut the 3/4 inch thick sill so that it fits between the two sides of the door jamb. Use silicone caulking or liquid nails to attach the door sill to the floor. The sill will stick 3/4 inch into the sauna room and will be flush on the exterior. Don't be concerned if there is still a gap between the sill and the door. This is normal. Cut the 1" by 2" door stoppers to size. Run a bead of glue the length of the stoppers and install them with finish nails. Then repeat the process on the other side. Measure, cut, and install the 3 pieces of 1" by 2" interior door casing. Note that the exterior casing is not provided in the sauna package. Use wood putty for any visible nail holes. The roller latch can be adjusted for correct closure. Counterclockwise runs the roller out. Rotating clockwise runs the roller in. Before using the sauna, seal all wood surfaces on the door, inside and outside, and all edges with a clear wood sealer, such as Thompson's Water Seal, Olympic Sealer, Bear Sealer, or similar product. Use at least 2 coats of sealer on the door. Note that while the exterior of the door may be painted or stained to match your home's interior, only clear sealer should be used on the interior of the sauna door. Next, install the ceiling trim and base molding. 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch ceiling trim is provided for the sauna room. Measure and cut the ceiling trim for the back wall first. Run a bead of glue on the trim piece and use finish nails to install where the last wall board meets the ceiling. Cut and install the ceiling molding along the side walls next, and then install the front wall ceiling trim. 3/4 inch by 1 1/2 inch base molding is provided to cover the gap between the first layer of paneling and the floor. Use finish nails to install the base. Cut and install the back wall base, then the sides. And then the front wall pieces. Run a bead of clear silicone caulking where the base molding meets the floor, using your finger to smooth it out. Install the vent registers that open and close in the sauna room. Cover the exterior vent holes with the vent grills. The bench installation is next. This bench installation is for the standard 20-inch wide bench tops in a 6-foot by 8-foot sauna room with L-shaped upper and lower benches, making 4 total benches. Your installation may vary depending upon your room size and shape. We'll first show a 2-bench installation. Find the 13.5-inch long, 3/4 inch by 1 1/2 inch bench legs. These are your lower bench supports. Attach these vertically to the wall. Measure from the back corner along the left side wall and make a mark at 34 1/2 inches. This is the lower bench leg distance from the wall and where the front edge of the lower bench leg will be placed. Check formulas for bench widths other than 20 inches wide and distance between bench legs. Set the 13 1/2 inch long leg vertically on the 1x2 base with the front edge of the leg at the mark you just made. Nail the leg to the left wall with the 5-penny nails. Measure 18 1/2 inches back from the front edge of the leg you just installed and make a mark. Install the next 13 1/2 inch leg just inside that mark. Repeat these same steps for the 2 lower legs on the right side wall. Set your lower bench in place. Now measure from the back corner along the left wall and make a mark at 18 1/2 inches. Set a 15-inch long 3/4 inch by 1 1/2 inch leg on the back end of the lower bench just inside the mark. Nail it in place. Find a 36-inch long 3/4 inch by 1 1/2 inch leg and set it on the 1x2 base along the left wall back corner. Use a level to make a mark where the 36-inch back leg is level with the 15-inch long front leg, and cut at that mark. Set the back leg in place and nail it to the left back wall corner. Repeat these steps for the upper bench legs for the right wall. Set the upper bench in place. For rooms with only an upper L-shaped bench, cut 2 of the 36-inch long 1x2 legs to the same length as the back legs that are supporting the upper bench. Attach the legs to the wall and set the bench in place. L benches are pre-drilled through the end of the bench. Remove the bolts from the bench and set the bench on the 1x2 legs and line up the holes at the end of the bench to match the ones drilled in the 2x4 bench face. Insert the bolts and washers and fasten the nuts tight with a wrench. For a room with upper and lower L-shaped benches, repeat the same lower and upper bench instructions for the upper and lower L-shaped benches. L-shaped return benches are pre-drilled and contain carriage bolts with washers and nuts. Set a 15-inch 1x2 leg on the lower bench underneath the upper L bench. Fasten the leg to the wall. The benches must also be fastened to the wall at every point the bench meets a wall. Using a number 2 Phillips head bit extension, drive 2 to 3 of the 3-inch screws through the end of each bench to the wall. Place the screws at a 45-degree angle in the spaces between the 2x2 bench tops. For benches that are over 6 feet long, 1 or more center leg supports will be required. Find the long 2x3 bench leg with the notch in the center. This will support the back of the lower bench and the underside of the upper bench. At the back of the lower bench, measure from the floor to the bottom of the bench support. Measuring from the bottom of the notch, mark and cut the leg. Now, measure from the floor to the notch on the underside of the upper bench. Starting at the end that was just cut, measure and cut the total length of the notched leg. Put the leg in place so that the notch of the leg lines up with the back of the lower bench, and the top of the leg slides into the notch on the underside of the upper bench. Screw or nail the leg to both benches. Find the 18-inch long 2x3 leg. This will support the front of the lower bench. Measure the distance from the floor to the notch on the underside of the lower bench. Cut the leg to this length. Insert the lower bench leg in the notch and fasten in place. Measure the distance from the top of the 1x2 base to the bottom of the center bench support. Cut and nail the 1x2 center leg to the wall. Attractive bench skirts and comfortable permanent backrests are available options. Bench skirts are installed between the upper and lower benches to add to the beauty of your sauna. Permanent backrests are attached to the walls above the upper bench and offer additional sauna comfort. Optional 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch corner trim is provided for every corner of the room. Once all benches are in place, cut and nail corner trim to each corner. Now you are ready to install the heater. The standard heater in an FPC 68 sauna is the wall-mounted FLB 80 with built-in controls. Your heater may differ. Place the heater in the room at about 10 inches off the floor. See your heater manual for clearances from the side wall. Mark the top hole of each mounting bracket. Make sure the mark's level. Use the 2-inch long number 6 sheet metal screws for the top 2 holes. Drive the screws in the wall and leave a 1/8 inch gap between the head of the screw and the wall. Mount the top 2 holes of the mounting bracket on the screws. Add an additional screw to each bracket. A white envelope is located in the heater box and contains a bathing sign, warning sign, and screws. Install the warning sign near the heater or in an easily visible location. Then install the smaller caution sign above the heater. The plexiglass bathing sign may be placed inside or outside the sauna room. Now, install the sensor bulb and bulb cover. Begin by removing the bottom cover plate on the heater. Find the coiled wire with the thermostat sensor bulb. Uncoil the wire and have the green covered tubing exit through the slot at the back of the heater. Then replace the bottom cover on the heater. Take out the 2 screws holding the back of the metal heater grill and remove the grill. The thermostat bulb cover is attached to the elements. Remove it and screw it on the wall. It should be located 6 inches from the ceiling to the center of the bulb and about a foot from the side of the heater. Do not place the bulb directly above the heater. Put the thermostat bulb in the bulb holder and bring the metal sides together until they meet in the middle. Use the 2 wooden strips to cover the thermostat wire. Nail to the wall with the nails provided, being careful not to puncture the wire. The wooden strips will not cover the entire wire. Loosely coil up the remaining wire near the bottom of the heater. Do not kink the wire. Now, place your sauna stones in the heater. The stones should be placed between the rows of elements. Use the smaller rocks between the elements and pile the larger ones on top. The elements should not be touching each other. When complete, most of the heater elements will not be visible. All of the stones may not be needed. Put the grill back on the heater and insert the screws. Wall heaters contain a 2- or 3-sided wooden heater guard. Line up the angled boards so that the center hole makes a bow tie shape. Insert the Hoffman locking key in the hole with the rounded side down. Use a hammer to drive the key in the hole. Line up the top of the heater guard close to the top of the heater casing. Attach to the wall with 3-inch screws. And insert the wooden buttons into the holes. Finally, install your super deck flooring, a plastic mat provided for the walking area of your floor. Super deck comes in 12-inch squares that interlock. Insert the tabs into the loops and press down with your thumb. Super deck may be cut with a utility knife to fit to size or to go around any bench legs. Your sauna comes with a super deck floor, but there are several floor options available, including a Eurodeck option with several colors to choose from, and 2 types of wood flooring. Install the sauna thermometer 6 inches from the ceiling above the heater. Now, there's nothing left to do but enjoy your Finlandia sauna. For your optimum enjoyment, Finlandia offers a host of optional sauna accessories. A Finlandia towel preserves the life of your benches and furthers the sanitary conditions of your sauna. A sand timer ensures you'll get just the right amount of sauna enjoyment. A hygrometer lets you know the precise humidity in your sauna. A variety of aromas are available, such as birch and eucalyptus, to enhance your sauna pleasure, as well as a selection of bath and shower products. They even come in a gift pack selection. Our Sauna Aromatic drips a sauna fragrance onto the hot sauna rocks. A Sauna Heart humidifier will enhance your comfort. For added beauty, we offer cedar vent covers. And there are many more to choose from. Contact your Finlandia Sauna representative or visit www.finlandiasauna.com.